Hello, guys, and welcome back to Everything New York Jets. Today, I want to talk about the potential edge options for the upcoming 2021 NFL Draft for the New York Jets. So we all know the Jets signed Carl Lawson, right? We signed Vinny Curry, who's going to be a nice rotational type rusher, but we definitely knocked it down the list, the needs, right? The needs for the New York Jets. So it's not the number one or number two need, I would say right now. That's O line and corner, but it's still a need because as Carl Lawson's on one edge, but who's going to be on the other edge? We still need an edge rusher on the other edge. We are 50% done, I would say, with the edge rushers, right? Because we got one on one side, but we don't know who's going to be on the other side. So I fully expect Joe Douglas to draft an edge rusher. So I want to talk about Kwity Paye. First on my list, he's an edge rusher from Michigan. He's 6'4", 271. He's a guy who has great burst. When the snap, begins, he bursts right to the offensive tackle. He has a great bend. He's able to find the angle he needs to get to the quarterback or the running back, and he plays with high energy. He's extremely athletic. He's a guy who he will find a way to get to whoever has the ball, right? I've seen so many plays where the running back, they hand it off to the running back. The running back's going to the opposite side of the O line, and Kwity Paye will find a way to maneuver around and track him down, right? So he is a guy who's projected to go, I would say, like around the 10 to anywhere to 25 range. I would say he doesn't slip out of the first. And I would say it isn't a great chance he falls to 23. It's possible, but I wouldn't bank on it if I'm the Jets. So that's my first edge rusher on this list. So next up, I have Azeez Ojulari. He's 6'3". He's 240 pounds. He's more of a speed rush guy than a power guy, but he still has power, right? It's not like he has no power, but he's more of a speed guy. He's able to react well, right? If the ball is thrown in his area, he's able to swat it down. He's able to make a play on it. So he's good that way. Also, one thing to mention is he's a guy not like Kwity Paye where the Jets possibly could get him in the second round, right? We don't have to select him in the first round. He's a late first, early second type guy, so the 34th pick we could look to get Azeez Ojulari. He has good pass rush moves. He's able to get good angles, but it's not like he's the elite pass rusher of this class, right? He's not the best, but he's still good. There's a lot to work on, but there's a lot to like. He's not gonna come in and be a star in my opinion, but he's gonna be a guy who you can develop into a star if you develop him correctly, because he has all the tools, he has the athleticism. One thing to mention is in 2018 he did tore his ACL, so we'll see how that affects him. It's 2 years ago. I don't think the Jets would care because Carl Lawson has had his fair share of leg injuries as well. So, and again, in the end, we'll see. But I really like him as an option for the Jets. So next up on my list, I have one of the most, if not the most, athletic edge rushers in this draft, and that's Jayson Oweh. He's 6'5", 252 pounds. He played for Penn State, and he ran in his Penn State Pro Day a sub 440, 439, and so that's insane for an edge rusher, right? So a lot of people are saying, add a tenth of a second to the time because it's unofficial, I forgot the specifics, but they have a different way of measuring the 40, just like the hand crossing or something. But anyway, so even a 4.49 is crazy for an edge rusher. So he's athletic. He's a guy who bursts off the edge extremely fast. I would say the one thing with him, you're not drafting him to come in right away and be like a Miles Garrett type player. Like he's gonna take some development. He's gonna take some improvement in his technique. But with a Robert Saleh as a head coach, a defensive specialized head coach, I expect him to be able to develop players like Jayson Oweh, and that's why I would go for more high upside type players with a lot of athleticism because I believe in Robert Saleh. I believe he can develop a player. I wouldn't have said that with Adam Gase defensively or offensively, but I could say that about our head coach right now, Robert Saleh. Anyways, I would say draft range. I would say around late first, early second, kind of like Azeez Ojulari. We'll see obviously by draft day, but he's a guy who's moving up draft boards after his insane pro day. If you guys haven't seen his pro day, you look it up on YouTube because it's absolutely insane. He had a great pro day. He improved his draft stock exponentially. So we'll see in the end. I think he'll be absolutely great for whoever team he goes to if they can develop him correctly. So next up on my list, I have Joseph Asai. He's 6'4", 254 pounds. He's another athletic edge rusher who has a lot of raw athleticism. He still needs to be worked on, pass rushing wise, but again, the tools are there to be worked on. He's a guy, funny enough, if you actually go to mock draft websites and whatnot, he is listed as an edge slash linebacker because in Texas he played linebacker and edge. They were trying to kind of figure out his role, but he played a little bit more edge than linebacker in the end. So he could be a guy who comes in. Robert Saleh says, he has some flexibility. We could play him at linebacker and edge, kind of as a guy who can do it all if we can develop him. Again, a developmental piece. A lot of speed. He bursts off the edge. He has a high motor. Kind of similar to a lot of the other edge rushers, right? In this draft class, a lot of potential, I would say, in this class more than a coming in like Nick Bosa, Joey Bosa, Chase Young. There's not anyone like that in my opinion. Like there's no one who's gonna come in get you 10 double-digit sacks straight off the bat. You're gonna have to develop these guys. He's a guy who's projected late first, second round, kind of like Azeez Ojulari and Jayson Oweh. But I would say Jayson Oweh is going to go in the first round more than second round. So again, this is another guy who's going to be more of a project. But again, if you can develop him correctly, there's a lot to be had in this draft class and with him. And just, I think this draft class, we just need one edge rusher. So it's not a big deal if we, wait to the second round and select one of these high potential, high upside type edge rushers. So next up on my list, I have Jaelan Phillips. He played with the Miami Hurricanes last year. He's 6'5", 266 pounds, and he's extremely athletic like everyone else. But the difference with him is talent-wise, he's probably one of the best edge rushers in this class, right? But not ranked number one on all boards, and I'll get to that in a minute. Um, but he's a guy who has great burst off the edge. He's able to counter what the offensive lineman is doing. He's able to read the offensive lineman, understand what he's going to do. He's a guy who's going to be able to pass rush effectively on day one if he's healthy, and I'll get to that in a bit. He's able to stuff the run, right? He's a guy who could come in and be great if he's healthy. And the reason why I say if, he was medically told to retire, right? He constantly gets concussions. He's a guy who could be an absolute star in the NFL, or he could not even play it down. Like, it's that serious, right? He was told to medically retire. He transferred to Miami, had a great year there. So you're taking a huge risk when drafting him. It's an extremely low floor to the point where he might not even play in the NFL, or an extremely high upside to where he's one of the better edge rushers in the NFL. He's a guy who I would say you just have to hope he's healthy rather than you have to really develop him, right? Like the other ones in this draft, like I was talking about. He's a guy who could go in the draft, round one because of his pure upside, his pure talent, or he could really drop in the draft because, it's possible your draft pick's completely wasted. He doesn't even play snaps. So if he falls to 34, I think the Jets should take a risk. I think our edge, with Carl Lawson, with Quinnen Williams, with Foley Fadowowski, with all the players we have inside and on the D line and outside, I would take this risk if he falls there at 34. I don't know about 23, because at 23, with corner need, with O-line need, I wouldn't take this risk. But if he does fall to 34, I say, let's just do it. So finally, I have Ronnie Perkins. He's 6'3", 247 pounds. And if you watched him, it's clear he's a leader on defense, right? He's high energy, high motor, and constantly he pumps up his teammates. He's a guy who's a leader on the field, but here's the issues. Off the field, not so much. He was suspended. There's serious, there is character issues with him and character concerns. Being suspended is not a thing you want on your resume, especially when you're in the draft. So there's that aspect of it. But here's the thing too. 247 pounds. There's concerns if he will be too powerful in the next level. If you'll be too strong, or if he will be strong enough. So that's another concern with him. I would say another one, and not another concern, but there's upside athletically. If you can maybe bulk him up a bit, give him more strength, he could be a very good edge rusher. Him draft projecting him is very hard because you don't know how much NFL teams will take into account his character concerns, getting suspended. Um, but again, there is that upside. So I would say 3 through 5. I don't know if he'll go below 5. It's possible, but I would say 3 through 5. I don't know if he'll go round 1, maybe 2. I mean late second. I don't think he's gonna go early second over some of the other edge rushers we mentioned. But again, high upside. Again, low floor. I would say lower because you don't know if he'll be even strong enough, just his frame wise to beat offensive tackles. And character issues is always important, right? We've been seeing it a lot lately with Dwayne Haskins and a lot of players, right? So we'll see in the end. We'll see where he goes.